What stimulates the economy is less government. I mean, government is a big impediment to economic growth. The bigger the government, the less growth there is, because government has to be supported by the economy. And so it's a burden. It drains the economy of the resources that it needs to grow. Look, the government's inflation figures have never been honest. I think the metrics have been deliberately designed to obscure how high prices are actually rising. I think they would be rising much faster if it wasn't for the rest of the world bridging the gap between what we produce and what we consume through trade. But I think that's coming to an end. You know, the Chinese and our other creditors are no longer buying U.S. treasuries. In fact, I think they're selling. So the subsidy that Americans have enjoyed from foreign producers and savers is going to go away. So I think we're going to start to see much bigger increases in prices at the consumer level. How much of those increases get captured in a rigged CPI, it's hard to say. But you can already see commodity prices hitting 5-year highs across the board, whether it's industrial metals, whether it's agricultural commodities. I think by the end of 2021, we could see all of these commodities at all-time record highs. Meanwhile, interest rates are moving. They're still low, but they're moving up. And I think they have a lot further to go. And unfortunately, I think the Federal Reserve is going to do everything it can to prevent rates from rising because we're too broke to afford to pay. And that means they're going to have to crank up the presses even more, which will put even more downward pressure on the dollar and upward pressure on inflation, which is the reason that rates are rising in the first place. So this is going to be, a death spiral of inflation. I think it's, building and consolidating for the next leg up. As to why that leg hasn't already begun, I think you have a lot of traders who are still, using a playbook that really is irrelevant. They're looking at the rise in interest rates and somehow thinking that's bearish for gold. They're looking at the pickup in inflation and think, oh, that means the Fed is going to be raising rates. And they're trying to discount that tighter monetary policy into the gold price. And I think that's completely ridiculous. The Fed is not going to be raising rates. It doesn't matter how high inflation goes. They're not going to fight it. They're simply going to stoke the fires. And, people are moving to other metals. I mean, they're moving to other commodities and, they're not being distracted by the backup in rates. So I think this is just a short-term phenomena. I think gold is getting ready for a tremendous move because in reality, if you're worried about inflation, gold should be the main commodity that you buy because as inflation pushes up the price of all commodities, it's hard to store wheat or corn or oil or, live cattle. So if you think you need these commodities in the future, it's not that easy to stock up on them today. But what is easy to stock up on is gold. And gold is a store of value. It has historic relationships to all these other commodities. So if you're worried about a big increase in prices because of the valuation of money and you want to protect your long-term purchasing power, you would be buying gold. So gold should be reacting even faster than other commodities. And so it hasn't thus far, but I think it will. Buying that might have gone into gold went into Bitcoin instead. I think it's, very little, as far as the size of the gold market. Maybe it's significant to the Bitcoin market, but I think it's kind of irrelevant to the gold market. What I do think may be happening, though, with the Bitcoin story, which is centered on the false belief that Bitcoin is digital gold and is going to replace gold. That's, part of the spiel that they use to try to sucker people into buying it, right? That's the Bitcoin story, that Bitcoin is gold, but it's nothing like gold at all. It has absolutely nothing in common with gold. But to the extent that some people that really don't understand what gold is, who maybe are in the institutional space, maybe they would be buying gold. But because they believe that maybe gold's future is being impacted by Bitcoin and that, maybe gold won't go up because Bitcoin will steal its thunder, it's possible that some institutions that otherwise might be buying gold maybe are not doing it. I don't think they're buying Bitcoin either, but to the extent that they think Bitcoin may replace gold, it may be a reason why they're not buying gold. And so maybe they're buying some other commodity, or maybe they're buying stocks or something else. But ultimately, Bitcoin is going to collapse, and any demand that it might have siphoned away from gold is going to return to gold. I mean, the Bitcoin story, it's one of a bubble. It's, a modern day tulip mania. It's fool's gold. I've said that from the beginning. It doesn't matter that the price has gone up. I mean, I've never said that the bubble couldn't get bigger or that the price couldn't rise. My only point is that the price is unsustainable because Bitcoin itself has no value. It has no use. Yes, if people believe the price is going to go up and they're willing to buy it, well, the price will go up. But it only goes up if more people make the same mistake and are willing to pay an even higher price than the last fool. Well, eventually the supply of fools runs out and the greatest fool ends up as the bag holder. And maybe we're very close to that point right now. I don't know. I mean, I'm not clairvoyant, but I know a bubble when I see one. I got plenty of experience. And if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, and Bitcoin is the biggest duck of them all. Well, it's hard to participate in a bubble when you know it's a bubble. If you don't know, well, then you can buy. But the problem is, you never know when the bubble is going to pop. So it's difficult. There probably are. I mean, I think there are two types of people that are in Bitcoin. There are the people who don't know it's a bubble and don't know it's worthless. And then there are the people who do know, but they don't care because, the price is going up and they figure they're going to get out before the bottom drops out. But I think that's a lot harder to do. I mean, people think that they can get out, but I think most people are going to be trapped. I think when it finally collapses, it's going to be very quick. And, the market has been conditioned, right? Every time Bitcoin drops in the past, it comes back, right? So they've convinced the hodlers to close their eyes and turn out the FUD. And so Bitcoin crashes and it comes back, and it crashes and it comes back. So people now expect that every time it crashes, it's going to come back. So what happens when it crashes and then it doesn't come back? It crashes again and then crashes again. But people are stuck holding and hoping. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen. I mean, all the money that people make in Bitcoin is simply going to be a function of the money other people lose. There is no actual value being created by Bitcoin. You can only make the money that other people lose. That's the nature of a Ponzi or a pyramid. And that's exactly what this is. It's got characteristics of both rolled into one. Well, it depends. They're buying into a dream. It's a myth that you're going to get rich simply by hodling Bitcoin. Now, yes, people who did buy Bitcoin early on and rode it all the way up, they did get rich. The people that get in early are the ones that get in rich.
Yeah.
It's the people that get in late that enable those riches that get out poor. Now, there are a lot of people that think that buying now is still buying early. This is preposterous. Anybody who thinks they're getting in on the ground floor or anywhere near the ground floor, everybody knows about Bitcoin. Everybody's talking about Bitcoin. So you're not stumbling in on something brand new. Was convinced you got to buy. You can't lose. Even if the price goes down, it'll come back up. It's a no-brainer. Buy it. You're all going to get rich. So this is how bubbles end. This is not how they begin. We're much closer to the top than the bottom. Not only in price probably, but in time. I mean, this is like a parabolic. Look at that move up that we've had, right? I mean, this is not a sustainable move. There's never been a market that's moved up like this that hasn't come crashing down, including Bitcoin.